Patron, take them away.
And a warm welcome to one and all. If this is your first time here, I'm the big fella Scruff. I'm trying to put trading in the real world. Maybe show you a trick or two along the way. So if that sounds good and you find value in this, do take a moment to click that little subscribe button. Genuinely helps and motivates me to do more. So what's the more that I'm doing? Well, it's US CAD today. The guys did ask for cable and DAX. However, they're not quite ready yet. They're a little bit volatile this time today, and they're at a point where it could go either way. So my idea is just stay away. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at US CAD. Now let me flick the screens on, and I'll explain. Now I've already done a breakdown of this for the guys, which is here. And when I was saying about the guys requesting things in the market calls here, we have a face-to-face meeting on a morning, and we have a little bit chat about, well, whatever the markets are up to. Now we're going to be changing that as of next week, where it's going to be one on a night time, one on a morning time. So the guys that do New York session can still get to see it as well, or get to see it in real time because it's all recorded. Anyway, story for another day. But we discuss all sorts in there, whether it's today we talked about rabbit holes where looking at one problem might lead to another problem. In other words, is my stop too wide? But actually, the problem is not the stop being too wide. It's the entry being not really good enough. So just because you see one issue doesn't mean to say that's the problem. But it can lead you to the path where you do find the problem, if that makes sense. So these calls are very important. And we sort of get to know each other, etc. Now, from there, I often ask what they want me to trade, blah, 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 which is why I said cable and DAX. However, if I look at this, so if this goes up before the markets open, I work out all of the strengths as to what is good, bad, or indifferent. And what it's pulled out is we have the US CAD up here on this top line, which is the market pick. Because the CAD is very strong, the US not so much. It is losing ground and the CAD is gaining ground. So there's going to be movement, but it's also highlighted here amongst the majors. So if one of these highlights, and the way that it highlights, it'll tell me a chart to look at. And what I really want is to see something in this column, sort of like that, where it's good. However, that is a good early warning sign. And the fact that it's in here as well tells me this is good to go. So from there, I then do a bias sheet, which is this one here. And I'll monitor it each hour. Now, it's currently 9:30. And it was telling me that the US CAD is a buy. Monitor it, but be careful with it. And I know that because it's giving me a little target here of 10. It's telling me just to get in and get out because it's a fair trade, but it's not a great trade. All right, so that's how I use that. And I've already opened the trade. I did it just as we were coming on because it had come into market. It had clicked in. So what are we looking at? Why is it a fair trade? Well, I've got two positions on because that's one of the things I'm doing now. It's called a double tap. And what a double tap is, you open up two positions at the same time. You have one with a nominal target. So that's here, which is the 10 pips. And the other one is open-ended. Now, I could just sort of push that up to maybe there. All right. And the idea is when one closes, you pull the other one to break even. and see if it runs that little bit further. Result. So that's the idea. And what I'm looking for is to go from the green into the white, pick some pips up, and then away. And the trading arena I'm willing to work in is this one. Okay. Now I'm also willing to put extra orders trailing down into this yellow line. And the reason why I do that is I like to tip my toe in the water and build a position up. And it gives me room to maneuver. So as this trade moves on, because this is all real time, don't do any rollback charts of any description. When I trade in the moment. And what you see is what I see. I think that's the fairest way. Okay. So at the moment, I'm looking for the bounce, which is in against this lot. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for one of these. All right. Because it's kind of at that point now. Now, if I take this out to the 4 hourly, we'll start seeing this bigger. Now, if you look at this, you think, bloody hell, you're buying in the face of that. You're right, I am. But I'm buying it to sell it. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm going to follow the road up and then bring it back down again. It's one of those rare occasions that it's a good opportunity. The opportunity to buy it is at the bounce point. So I'm just going to capitalize on that movement and then hopefully grab the next move down. But I'm also keeping an eye on sort of cable, euro dollar. I actually quite like the euro dollar. Oh, it's breaking through now. So let's have a quick look at this. I was holding off this because it was sitting on this level and it's bust through. So I might keep half an eye on this as well and drop a little order into this because it was looking pretty good. But at the minute, I like to trade sort of one asset at a time, and that asset is this one. Okay, so let me just drop this back so that we can see what we're looking at. I'll do a daily. So sell, sell, sell. We're coming into a strong level, which is where the bounce idea is coming from. It's had no form of retracement at all for 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th day. So there has to be some kind of retracement in that. Look here. That's slowing down. You can see that because of this. So there is some form of a bounce on the horizon. Take this down. You can kind of see it to a degree. Here, it's tried. It's failing. But here seems to be a good point, so I might drop some extra orders in now. Push that up. Get the orders in around here. And we're good to go. So that's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to play this one out. And we'll see. Okay guys, hope you're well. That's that trade now complete, and it's done pretty much what I wanted. I wanted an acceleration from here up, which, all right, it came in a little bit late. Not really something to worry about because I am going against the grain. But the idea that I said in the video for the guys was a bounce off here and then run up, which it's done. Now, if I'm looking for just sort of 10 pips, whatever, you get in, even if you got in late, you're getting your 15 odd pips there. So that's fine. So that's now complete. I've remembered to switch the orders off. And there you go. So it's like 50 quid for maybe it's an hour and a bit. What time did I set this away? It might be 2 hours. You know, 9:30. It's coming on 11:15, so hour and a half, something like that. But it was well executed and it did what I wanted it to do. And as traders, that's it. That's all we need to do. Now, there's going to be the argument that I always had. I've had it this morning, actually, some dickhead. It's only 50 quid. Well, can you earn 50 quid in an hour and a half? Because I think that's quite a decent hourly rate, you know, if you're breaking it down that way. I mean, most people struggle on minimum wage to get £10 an hour. Actually, that's the thing. I wish they wouldn't call it minimum wage. I think that's a travesty. It should be called national wage. Because £10 an hour is not sort of a bad wage. You know, it's like 80 quid a day, or if you're doing a 10-hour shift, 100 quid a day. It's not a bad wage. And where things fall down, and this is me getting on my soapbox, everybody wants these massive wages, but then they complain everything costs too much. Well, I am a business owner, and I have been, bloody hell, I'd say I'm 53 in a fortnight. So that's 23 years I've been looking at it from the other side of the fence. You know, you give somebody a pay rise, that pay rise has to be paid for. And the only way it can be paid for is to pass it on to the end user. And then the end user complains that the goods is too expensive. You can't have your cake and eat it. And that comes back down into the markets, etc. You know, if you start thinking along those terms, this is too expensive, this is too cheap, that's where the strength of the market comes into it. Because if a market is too expensive, nobody buys it. So it has to be sold off. If something's cheap, everybody looks for value. And more so this day and age. So everybody buys it. So do look at the extremes. And that's kind of the analogy I was sort of trying to make a bit badly, but I truly disagree with the minimum wage. I think it's an utter waste of time, and it's probably the destruction of the economy. You know, there's nothing wrong with letting an employer choose the salary. The employee has to choose to take the job. Now that's the thing. You know, if you don't like the job, change it. You don't like your charting, change it. We all have choice. We're not sheep, or at least you shouldn't be. So that's the Scruff sermon for today. And why? Because it's the end of my tax year. I've got to review everything. I've got to pay off my year-end tax and all of that, which is colossal. It's a shocker. Why? Because I pay my dues. And you should. Now that comes into something as well. You often hear somebody say, oh, I've paid my dues. And what that means is that they've not only have you sort of paid your tax or your subs to the social club, paying your dues also means you've spent time doing your job. You've learned your craft. You understand it. Well, I've certainly paid my dues on that one. But a lot of people come into this industry expecting to be paid the big money. without putting any work into it. And again, that comes back to that mentality of minimum wage, etc. Because minimum wage workers always complain that the man's out to get them and everything like that. No, they're not. It's a job. You agree to do the job, do the job. If you're good at that job, well, then you might get a promotion and you get a pay rise. Also, if you're good at the job and you're recognized to be good at the job, that gives you leverage in order to talk to your manager and say, look, I'm doing better than this. I'm better because of A, B, C. In other words, I've learned skill sets that others on the same pay grade are not doing. I would like a pay rise, and then justify your pay rise. And I'm going to put that back to the chart as well. A lot of the time, you have to earn the right to trade. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think, right, I've got 500 to 1 leverage, therefore I can put a big position size on because the leverage will allow me to open it up. No, that's stupid. You know, all that's doing is offering the money that you've got to the market. You don't want to be doing that. 500 to 1 leverage opens up a position or a market. The amount of money you have in your account dictates how big the position is, not the other way around. So in that sense, you haven't earned the right because you don't understand what the leverage is. Next, you can go to market and you might think that you're going to scalp and you're going to do 10, 20, 30 trades a day, get 2 pips here and 2 pips there. Well, you might have a good run, but it won't last forever. It'll wipe you out. So what you've got to learn is to know when to trade at the right time. Earn the right to trade. And a way to do that is a 30-day challenge. 1 asset, 1 trade, 1 position. And at the end of it, if you've got a positive expectancy and you followed that through, so it could be cable, pound a point, 1 trade. They're the 3 criteria. As long as you stuck to a pound a point, there's no reason you can't break that. Stage it backwards, 20p, 5 times, that's £1. Stick to the 1 asset and you take 1 trade a day and you end with a positive expectancy, in other words, more than you started with. You've earned the right to trade. Now you can maybe trade £2 a point and take 2 trades. You've gone through the baptism of fire. And all these little things help you as traders. And once you've had the battle scars and you've gone through it, then you'll start to see the money. And today, the trade that we took was against the grain. However, I've seen this thing 1,000 times. I know what I'm looking for. There's a high probability it was going to bounce at the level that I marked. And sure enough, it did. But I'm also very wary that I'm going against what the market is wanting to give. In other words, the trend is down, but there are pressure releases within that. And I could either wait till it crept up and then start putting a short in, which is a safer play, or I can just capitalize on the move that I saw, which I did. Target appropriately. You saw me pull my stops in, you saw me take some orders out as well. And the reason why I do that is I don't want to give the money away. And it paid me. Something for you to think about. Anyway, if you're stuck, I'm easy found. I'll drop all my contact details into the comments. Do talk to me in the comments. The more you ask, the more I'll interact with you. I am doing a live stream every Sunday, or every other Sunday rather, and drop your questions in the comments, and if you can't make the stream, I'll bring it up and then you can catch it in the replay. And then down into the description there's loads of links. You'll see the electronic journal that I use. It's free to use and you get a discount off that as well. There's discount off our preferred prop firm, which is the 5%ers. And if you're interested, I am the keynote speaker of Traders Day Live. In other words, I'm going to be doing one of the sessions there. There's a number of us going to be on the stage. It's going to be a great event on the 17th of June, and it's all educational and one thing and another. So there'll be links to the tickets for that. And our preferred broker, which is Black Bull for the MT5. And if you like the web trader that I use, that's IG. So apart from that, guys, that's about it. So as always, trade well, keep your risk managed, but above all, do what you love, and the money will follow. See you all in the next one.